What's going on, everybody? Ryan Thomas back on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I told you guys earlier today on social media, whether you're following me on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, that I would be on to recap the United States Football League. The return of the league that took place in the mid-'80s is back in full swing, and they had a very interesting layout for their draft that I wanted to talk about as it's going on right now. The quarterback draft was the first round. The first round only consisted of quarterbacks being picked by the 8 teams in the league: the Michigan Panthers, the Tampa Bay Bandits, the Philadelphia Stars, the New Jersey Generals, as well as the Houston Gamblers, Birmingham Stallions, the Pittsburgh Maulers, New Orleans Breakers. All those teams are back. You know, the Houston Gamblers, that's one that Bills fans should know about. As far as the history of the Bills and Jim Kelly playing for the Houston Gamblers prior to coming to Buffalo after being drafted by the Bills, we should know all about that. And obviously, I'm going to throw a little bit of an ode to that within this video. But really, I want to give my take on the quarterbacks that were selected in this draft, who I like selected, who I think maybe doesn't rank as well in this top 8 as far as the quarterbacks that were picked. And the Michigan Panthers, let's get right to it. Jeff Fisher's squad selected Shea Patterson, former Michigan Wolverine, very athletic quarterback that had a great collegiate career, someone that moved into the CFL for a little bit, and we saw some really good things from him in limited action. And I think that the best thing I can say about this league is that it provides opportunity to players that just wouldn't get it anywhere else. And it's based on a few different factors. Could be based on size, could be based on their ability to hone themselves into an NFL playbook. You know, I can't really say why Shea Patterson was looked at as somewhat of a I don't want to say bust or just a player that couldn't necessarily translate to the NFL. But Shea Patterson had his cup of coffee with the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid saw something in him to give him a shot, at least to try to make the team. He was really only an off-season practice squad member. Went to the CFL with the BC Lions, the British Columbia Lions, and then played a season with the Montreal Alouettes. And now he's playing for Jeff Fisher and the Michigan Panthers. And obviously, Shea Patterson transferred from Ole Miss to Michigan, went undrafted in 2020, and had a really good collegiate career. The Pete Dawkins Trophy winner. And what that means is basically the MVP of the All-American Bowl, which is typically played in January. It features the East and West going up against each other, the best players in high school ball going up against one another. The Michigan numbers: 45 touchdowns to 15 interceptions in his career at Michigan, and over 5,000 yards, 5,500 yards, I should say, for Shea Patterson. 23 TDs, 8 interceptions his senior season. His Ole Miss numbers: first year were so-so, second year were so-so, but really the years that he had great success were within the collegiate ranks at Michigan. And he also got the chance to play in the CFL. So number 1 overall pick, that means that the Michigan Panthers saw Shea Patterson as the best player in the draft, essentially. Like, if they could pick the first pick, makes you wonder, the first player, makes you wonder if Shea Patterson would have been that first overall pick had this been an actual all-around positional draft rather than just quarterbacks round 1, defensive ends round 2, which I'll talk about in the next video here. But the next pick by the Tampa Bay Bandits, and Todd Haley is a very elusive quarterback. I'd say that the Pat Mahomes-esque quarterback that this USFL has to offer, and that's Jordan Ta'amu. That's a name that a lot of people should know. And if you don't, you're missing out on an exciting player to watch. Jordan Ta'amu had great success, I thought, in the XFL, working within the St. Louis Battlehawks a couple years back. Made the Battlehawks a very exciting team to watch. There's a lot of Pat Mahomes, Tyrod Taylor to his game. And he bounced around after being seen by the NFL scouts as a solid player. I'd say he's the best quarterback that the XFL in 2020 had to offer. The Chiefs, the Lions, the Chiefs again, the Lions again, the Washington football team Carolina Panthers and now the Tampa Bay Bandits. So he bounced around as an offseason member of those few teams, the Chiefs, the Lions, and the Commanders, as well as the Panthers. And you really look at Ta'amu and what he did in college as well at Ole Miss, taking over for Shea Patterson, taking over for him as he was the backup to Shea Patterson before taking over as a starter the final 5 games of the season. I really love Jordan Ta'amu. I think this is a really exciting player for the USFL to have, and it's exciting for Jordan Ta'amu fans that enjoyed watching Ta'amu in the XFL be given the chance to continue his pro football career with the USFL and with a team like the Tampa Bay Bandits, with an offensive coordinator, an offensive mind like Todd Haley. Say what you want, but Todd Haley can draw it up. He can draw plays up very, very well in terms of his offensive prowess, and I think that Jordan Ta'amu is going to be a player that he's going to have a lot of fun with. Bryan Scott, the Philadelphia Stars, a team that ruled the USFL in the 80s. Bryan Scott selected as the quarterback of the Philadelphia Stars out of Occidental, undrafted in 2017. He bounced around the CFL as well, the BC Lions, the Edmonton Eskimos, 6'2", 220. You look at what type of player he was in limited action. True freshman season, Scott was selected as the SCIAC All-Conference Second Team and named Newcomer of the Year. He finished his college career with 77 touchdowns and 22 interceptions. And a lot of people say that there is a Aaron Rodgers-esque comparison to this player. I'll believe it when I see it. That's very bold praise, but I guess you could say he was like the D3 version of Aaron Rodgers. That's what I'll kind of compare him to. Just based on his pocket presence, his accuracy, those things jump out at me when I watch him on tape. And this is a guy that can just purely throw. He's a pure thrower, pure passer. And this is a guy that I think that the Stars said to themselves, let's just get the guy that gives us the best chance to pass the football in a league that I think will be very pass happy as well. The Philadelphia Stars looking to get physical on defense like they were back in the 80s. Orchard Park, New York native Ben Holmes is drafted with the 4th overall selection by the New Jersey Generals. And one of the best dynamics of this night is that you start to see each pick trickle through on the USFL social media channels, and you see top flight athletes announcing these picks. Michael Strahan was the man that announced this pick, which had to be very fun for Ben Holmes to hear from Michael Strahan that he was, yes, selected as the quarterback of the New Jersey Generals. Much props to Ben Holmes. I really like him as far as his athleticism, his ability to throw on the run. There's a lot to like there. The Houston Gamblers, this pick was announced by Warren Moon, which all props to Warren Moon. I like Warren Moon. Decent player, of course, Hall of Famer, more than decent. But Jim Kelly probably should have announced this pick. I understand Warren Moon played for the Houston Oilers. Jim Kelly literally played for the Houston Gamblers, and he didn't get a chance to announce this pick. I thought that would have been really, really fun. Maybe he did with some of the other picks, but, I thought Jim Kelly would have got this one. Clayton Thorson, somebody that I don't know too much about. And when this pick was thrown out there, one thing I will say is I do remember Clayton Thorson at Northwestern. Clayton Thorson was actually drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2019 NFL draft. So some of those other quarterbacks, I should say, weren't even drafted. And Clayton Thorson he was a part of the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants, and now is the quarterback for the Houston Gamblers. He was 3rd team All Big Ten and had a pretty pass-happy career at Northwestern, but Northwestern not really the greatest collegiate football program these last few years. They lost 5 games, 6 games, 3 games, and 3 games in the years that Thorson was on the team. So 61 touchdowns, 45 interceptions collegiately, not the greatest numbers, not the worst, but not the best either. But 10,000 passing yards. This guy can fling it through the air. And I'm excited to see the Gamblers kind of get back to that air raid, style offense. The Birmingham Stallions selected Alex McGough. And I am curious on this one because Birmingham has an advantage in this league. And that advantage is the fact that they play at home all season long. McGough played for the Seahawks, the Jags, played 2 seasons with the Texans, actually on the roster, made the roster. The Seattle Seahawks as a practice squad member again, and now he's playing for the Birmingham Stallions. More likely than not, their starter. And good on him because I think that this is an opportunity for him that he really, really needs. There's numbers within his career that you see a high completion percentage. You see a guy that I think is more known as that West Coast style quarterback, a la, a Chad Pennington, not a guy that really has a cannon, but a guy that can be accurate and a guy that can move the chains efficiently. Just a simple, easy quarterback that I think can just get it done. To me, the fun pick of this draft in this first round with the 7th overall pick is by the Pittsburgh Maulers. And it's a quarterback that, dare I say it, bold claim by me on the show here. Kyle Lauletta might be now that Big Ben is retired, bold claim, Kyle Lauletta might just be the best quarterback in the city of Pittsburgh. I'm talking to you, Duck Hodges, talking to you, Mason Rudolph. Kyle Lauletta, very decent quarterback in his time in college. And Lauletta, I think, should have went earlier in this top 8 to go 7th. His tenure with the Giants didn't exactly end well. There were a lot of off-the-field things that happened. Lauletta was arrested after being pulled over in his Jaguar on the way to the Giants team practice, charged with eluding the police, 3rd-degree crime, obstructing administration of law and resisting arrest, motor vehicle charges for reckless driving, disregarding an officer's directions, and an improper turn in a marked traffic lane and failure to remain in a marked lane. Lauletta had previously been charged with reckless driving in Fairfax County, Virginia, found guilty of failure to obey a highway sign. So Lauletta, I think, obviously comes with a checkered, character past. People make mistakes, though. Second chances were obviously the land of that. Kyle Lauletta is a guy that I really liked in college at Richmond. I've always liked Richmond because of the Richmond Spiders, and they got the big spider on their helmet. So Kyle Lauletta, a second chance opportunity for him, more than a second chance. He's had a lot of chances to revive his career in some form or fashion. Hasn't gone his way, but now he's a member of the Pittsburgh Maulers, and I'm curious to see what happens with him. He last spent his career in Cleveland as a backup to Baker Mayfield, 3rd stringer, didn't see hardly any action, only threw 5 pass attempts in his NFL career. One of them was an interception. So Kyle Lauletta, somebody that I think will have a fun time in this league as a second chance player. Hopefully he makes the most of it. He has to. So the New Orleans Breakers, Kyle Slaughter, and I spelled that last name wrong. My apologies. Kyle Slaughter, somebody that I think, you go from Kyle Lauletta to Kyle Slaughter, the League of Kyles. Not really well known in terms of his career. Collegiately, you see where some of these guys played, Occidental, Northern Colorado. They didn't come from the biggest programs, and they're not the biggest. But I will say biggest in terms of size. Kyle Slaughter, 6'5", 220, bounced around the NFL. Obviously, these guys have had cups of coffee in the league. Kyle Slaughter is an interesting one because in 2016, he only played 1 true season of collegiate football. Outside of that, his first 3 years, whether it's at Southern Miss or Northern Colorado, Slaughter had 1 pass attempt. So this is a guy that you don't have much film on him. You don't have much tape on him. There's not really a whole lot to see outside of that 2016 season at Northern Colorado. He threw for 29 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, 2,600 yards with a completion percentage of 62%. Didn't receive an invitation to the scouting combine in 2017, but you did see the fact that in his pro day, the measurables are there. 4.65 40 time and a 9.1 broad jump. That's pretty incredible for a 6'5", 220-pound quarterback. So dare I say it, maybe this is the USFL's version of like Josh Allen, the fact that he's tall, he's physically capable, but we just haven't really seen a lot of him in college at peak, program type years. Josh Allen really only had a year and a half of collegiate football at Wyoming. I'd say Kyle Slaughter might be the Josh Allen type quarterback in this league. I'm not saying he's as good as Allen, but I'm just talking about in terms of, you guys get the point, in terms of how he's compared to the other quarterbacks, being slept on, not a lot of tape on him. And we'll see what happens with him. The New Orleans Breakers with the 8th pick getting Kyle Slaughter. So my take on the new USFL as a whole, I'm really excited for it. I think spring football is something that can work in this country. And the fact that, the USFL was so successful when it made its original run in the 80s, it was gone though in a blink of an eye. The story as to how and why that happened. They tried to go head-to-head with the NFL after having that success in the 80s when football was really booming, when you had the 83 NFL draft quarterback class with Kelly, Marino. There were other quarterbacks that wanted to really get the chance to play. They were drafted by teams that were terrible, and they didn't want to play on bad teams. So the USFL fronted, a lot more money to these players like Jim Kelly, like Steve Young, like Doug Flutie, and they were able to really make an impact and be seen as these highlight reel type players, these highlight reel type quarterbacks that really put the league on notice, as far as the league, meaning the NFL, and provided football fans with a competitor that I think could go toe-to-toe with them at that time. But ultimately, they tried to go head-to-head with the NFL playing in the fall, and nobody can do that. Nobody can do that in terms of a professional football league. The NCAA can do it as a feeding program, but the USFL and the XFL better recognize that is not something that they want to implement as far as a business strategy. So the USFL is back after more than 35 years out, and they're back playing in the spring. And it's nice to have the return of these teams that were fun to watch. You go on YouTube, the great machine that YouTube is as far as a time machine. Go back and watch Jim Kelly slinging it for Houston. Go back and watch Steve Young playing for the LA Express. There were a lot of really cool memories made by those players as they made their impact prior to the NFL in the USFL. So this, though, is a second chance league, a third chance league, a fourth chance league for some of these guys. And I think competition is always a good thing. I talk about that a lot with mixed martial arts. The UFC can't be the only league that works. There has to be other leagues. There has to be LFA. There has to be Bellator. There has to be ONE FC. And the USFL is that league that I think can be a really good pipeline program for NFL players. And hopefully the XFL, when they return, they're able to make their impact as well. They don't return, though, until spring of next season. So next year. So 2023 spring, that's when we'll see the return of the XFL. But I'm really pumped up for this league. I'm happy that it's back, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be back on the show, obviously, as this draft continues to materialize. The way the USFL is doing this, I think, is highly entertaining. You're seeing the same positions go in each round. So, hey, we got X amount of players in this position, X amount of players at this position. Let's just dedicate the rounds particularly to those positions. I like that. I think that's really cool to have 8 teams to start it out, and then hopefully they'll be able to expand upon it if this league is successful, and I hope it is. Fox Sports is really getting behind it, putting some money out there for broadcasting rights and things of that nature, which is great. Hopefully you get some high-quality broadcasters in the booth. Hey, if you're looking for a guy, I know one. It's me. So we'll hope that this football league is really, really good and really, really successful. I think it will be. Football is good no matter what, I think. And I hope we see some guys break out in this league and maybe make it to the NFL. That'd be pretty cool. We saw that with Jordan Teamu. We saw that with PJ Walker in the XFL. And we saw that with Taylor Heineke, actually, in the XFL and the Alliance of American Football, I believe. So we'll see. My take on the new USFL, I like it. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Gives me something to watch. Hopefully, if baseball's back, we can have baseball and the USFL. But as of now, it looks like it's just USFL, which the USFL can really capitalize on the ratings if, in fact, that happens. I'm Ryan Thomas. You tuned in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, my USFL quarterback draft recap. Who's got the best quarterback? In my opinion, comes down to two. I think the Michigan Panthers got the best one with Shea Patterson, first overall. And I think Jordan Ta'amu will be the second best. Third best, though, I'm going Ben Holmes out of Orchard Park, local guy. I'm rooting for him. Somebody that I've watched play prior to, obviously, him being drafted by the New Jersey Generals. And I don't have a team. I'm not rooting for a particular team. I'm just going to watch it open-minded and enjoy it. And I hope you guys do too. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.